On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a hot take episode by DoubleDM. Yeah, everyone, this is the well-anticipated hot take episode of DoubleDM podcast, where Niels and I have written down a few opinions of our own, a few statements that we want to get out and discuss that are more or less just hot takes, right? Everyone knows hot takes from social media, right? Something to garner and bait attention. And yes, this is also a little bit attention baiting here with this episode. I'm not gonna lie. However, this episode is not meant to be, this is right, you are wrong if you disagree or anything. It is, however, meant to invite some discussion, but mostly it is focused on Niels and I are gonna disagree on stuff. You are gonna disagree with us on stuff. That doesn't mean that the discussion we can have together isn't gonna happen. We can always discuss certain parts of stuff. There are parts where I'm not willing to discuss, and there are parts where you're not willing to discuss, and that's okay as well. However, one big thing that this episode is, I think, supposed to say, I'm gonna say that right up front, is just because we disagree on something doesn't mean that we cannot have the discussion about the stuff, especially if we both buy into the discussion. If you say something that I'm just not willing to cross and not buy into, then we can't have a discussion. But most of the time, we can have a discussion on these disagreements, and that's okay. And also, let's be real, I just want to get some fucking statements out and just say, yeah, I have finally said it. It's what I believe in. It's how I've played. It's my opinion. And that's okay. And if you really want to, you can go to Twitter, go to Instagram, go to Reddit and blast your opinions as well. Just remember to always do so in a good faith context. Be open for people to disagree with you. That's important. And if people disagree with you in a certain manner, deal with that in the appropriate responding manner. For example, right, one of the not hot takes that I have is that safety tools are important and you should use them. That is not something I am willing to discuss. If someone comes to me, no, they're not working, blah, 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 I'm like, yeah, sure, not for you. I'm not going to discuss with you if safety tools are important or not. I know they are for me and my table, and you can do whatever the fuck you want at yours.
Exactly.
We don't have to discuss that. I'm not going to see reason with you. Sure, I'm going to say, do what you works at your table, but you're not going to convince me anywhere that I'm going to change my table in that aspect. At least not for the worse, in my opinion. If you prove to me that something works better, like, for example, a new safety tool, I am gladly going to abide by that. However, you're never going to convince me to stop using the safety tools I currently use, as long as you don't have a better alternative for me. We're all adults and talk to each other is not an alternative. It is a safety tool. Fuck you.
Perfect.
Oh my God. So, right, remember, this is satire. This is a fun, lighthearted episode. We did not have the time to make a real discussion for Christmas and the last episode of the year. Just enjoy it. Just sit here, laugh, disagree, throw your own hot takes out there and be done with it. Yeah. But do so in a fun way. Don't do it just to engagement bait. Don't do it just to get rage and clicks or whatever. Just have fun and stand by what you mean. It's good if you have an opinion that you're willing to defend, in quotation marks, because it means we can have discussions like these.
Exactly. Just be civil about it.
Hey, if you're one of our Twitter friends or one of our general TTRPG friends and disagree with us, message us and we will arrange an episode with you to talk about your hot takes.
Hell yeah.
With that out of the way, disclaimers out of the way, everyone now here is already offended by me. Niels, what is your first hot take for today?
Yeah, let's start with an introductory one regarding...
Okay, I can't wait to have the entire episodes about this one because I disagree. What?
No, but when you have someone who wants to start playing TTRPGs, I firmly believe starting with a rules light game is shit.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Let me explain.
Why? Yeah, why?
Because when someone doesn't have any idea how TTRPGs work in general, what you can do, what you can't do, the freedom of a rules light game can be so fucking overwhelming that they just don't know what to do and feel discouraged to try it out even further. But with a rules heavy game, you have more guidance, you have more pointers to or clear statements what your character and you as a player can do and can't do, and therefore get into the thick of TTRPGs itself and then try out new ideas later on with a rules light game.
Okay. Fair point. Very fair point. I think it comes down to not tread on this take entirely, because I think actually one fun thing instantly, I want to make an entire episode about that.
Perfect.
Not starting with rules light games. I'm going to write that down. However, I firmly believe that you are correct, at least in some aspects.
That's the beauty of hot takes, isn't it?
Yes. The thing is, when you're with your friend group and you're charming about or you're gushing about how much fun your TTRPG play is, right? And one of your new friends comes in and says, I want to try as well. I think that, yes, it is not great to start them off with a rules light game if your group normally plays rules heavy games.
Yeah.
If the entire experience you're gushing about is rules light games, then that is what they're interested in. You understand?
Yeah, I do.
I think that is important, right? You should bring in people the way that you have introduced them to the games.
Yeah, I can see that.
If you're only playing Powered by the Apocalypse games, which I'm not saying are rules light games, by the way, when you're playing Powered by the Apocalypse and you're gushing about your experience with Powered by the Apocalypse, and someone says, I want to try that as well, do not start them off with any other game but Powered by the Apocalypse, because they want to experience what you are experiencing, and they can only experience that experience in Powered by the Apocalypse. At the same time, however, I also think that you're very much correct that starting them off with a rules light game can give a very false experience of what TTRPGs are about. Same, however, with a very rules heavy game. It is not so black and white, obviously.
Yeah.
However, I do think that, for example, pampering them with an experience that is supposed to be easier because it has less rules isn't actually the right thing to do, because just because it has less rules doesn't mean the TTRPG is any easier.
Yeah, let me just say in regards to that, we played Wonder Home once, right?
Yes.
If I started playing TTRPGs with Wonder Home, I would have been completely fucking lost. There is no guidance there was no guidance in our game. If I didn't know TTRPGs at all, I would have been so fucking lost. I wouldn't know what the fuck to do.
This is obviously not an insult to Possum Creek Games. I love Wonder Home as a game.
It's an amazing game.
But if I would have started playing TTRPGs with Wonder Home, it would have stayed at one session. It would have stayed at one session. Because while I loved the experience, I don't think that I could have said, this is a hobby I want to do for the rest of my life. It would have been oh cool, my friends play these things. Oh yeah, let's try one session. Oh yeah, this was very fun. Thank you guys for doing this with me. Maybe I'm going to come in for the next session as well, but I'm not going to make it.
It wouldn't have turned into an obsession.
It wouldn't have turned into a hobby and an obsession. It would have turned into something that I do. Exactly. But that's okay. That's okay. Wonder Home isn't necessarily designed to be that, right? Wonder Home isn't advertised as, this is the game good for starters. They're not advertising it as that. So there's no big deal with that. But different TTRPGs have different experiences to them, and you will have to find, first of all, the one that fits that person, but also, second of all, displays what you have been giving them the idea of.
Yeah,
but I think that's the hard thing.
But in regards to systems or games, I have another hot take that segues beautifully into that.
Okay, can I ask you then a question? First,
yeah, sure.
What would be an adequate system to start someone off, in your opinion?
Oh, fucking hell, I don't know.
What is the system you would use to introduce someone to TTRPGs? If rules light aren't the way to go, what is the system you would use? And I'm talking about Niels here, not generally advise Niels. What system would you use?
From the experiences that I have or had, I probably would start with D&D, just because it's the most used system by me currently, and there is some wiggle room in the rules.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna get to that in my hot take.
Yeah. But there are, especially for the combat side, there are a lot of rules what you can and cannot do, and your character or your classes pretty clearly, or more or less clearly, state what you're able to do and what not. There are a lot of different options what you can do as a D&D character. So I think it gives you a lot of ideas what you could be doing in a more or less rules light environment. But yeah, that would probably be the one that I would start with. But I have to say to that, I haven't played that many other systems yet. Which is fine, which is very fine. So, your hot take on what did you just want to say? Let's go. Yeah. It's regards game systems as well, as well. The game system doesn't matter as much once you have a right group. You can... No, fuck you. No, it doesn't. It does so fucking much. Fuck you. It matters, but the group is way more important.
Okay.
Fuck you.
I hate you, but I cannot disagree with you because yes, the group is more important. However, stating that in that way is really infuriating to me because it basically says the game system isn't important.
Guess why I phrased it that way.
Which you didn't say. However, I am fuming. I am seething.
Yeah, perfect. This is what I am here for. No, but when
I'm
you play,
shaking. I'm really no. Let me
explain. No. You are fuming. Calm the fuck down. Let me explain. When you're starting to play TTRPGs with the same group, you have to find the right system. That's for sure what you want to fucking do. But once you have a group that you vibe with, that you have a great feeling with, what system you play doesn't matter for the fun at the table, because the group or a good group can work through a shit system, but a shit system or a good system can't work through a shit group. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah, I very much agree with that. Again, however, I very much hate that you say it. I very much hate because what really needs to be understood about me is I value a TTRPG system so much. That's why I want to play so many different ones. That's why I always say when a session gets cancelled or when a session gets cancelled with a lot of time beforehand, trying to organize something new. I'm always looking for new games. I'm always reading new games. I'm always looking on the Twitter spaces for new designers and people that have created fun games that I can check out, because the system is the one thing that guides your play experience. It is more valuable than the GM running it, if there even is a GM that it guides the play experience. At least it is supposed to for me.
The thing is, I agree with that as well.
The GM is the person at the table that can sway the game into the right direction for a group. But the system itself needs to direct the play experience. And that's why TTRPG systems are important. But yes, I agree. A bad system can be carried by a good group to make a fun evening.
Exactly.
But a bad group cannot make the best TTRPG in the world be fun.
Exactly. So, systems are fucking important.
System fucking matters. That's
system
important
matters,
to say.
But groups do too, and a bit more.
Yes, groups do too.
Fuck you.
Groups do too. Okay.
Hit me with one of yours.
My first one is also about the rules of games.
Okay.
And that is fuck Rule 0, Rule of Cool, Golden Rule, whatever you want to call it. Because it is the exact antithesis of what I just said. The game is supposed to guide the play experience. And it does not need to be stated, in my opinion, that at the table, you as a group can say, no, the fuck you don't, game. We don't want that. We want something different. No one can stop you. However, basically invalidating your game experience with this is the rule of cool, it always works this way. Just no, it cannot. Sure, I get we are here to have a cool experience. We want to have fun, and it's okay to sometimes bend the rules a little. However, you cannot always say, rule of cool rules overall. No, it doesn't. It shouldn't. Then why are you even playing a game?
Yeah.
There are games literally built around the rule of cool, like 7C, where you're supposed to be fucking cool all the time. That game does not even need to state rule of cool. And I think it even has a section that the GM can still overrule the system, or that the table can still overrule the system. I'm like, why? The entire system is built around the experience of being able to do something that no other rule system can allow you to do, because you're just allowed to do everything as long as you say you do it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, I love my rule of cool. I love that, but I hate that it has to be stated, because if it has to be stated, it's weird.
The thing is, I understand why you state it in a game, why every game has some like, I understand the perspective of why a game designer puts that into their system, because first of all, every game system, in my opinion, for example, this is not a hot take in my opinion, needs to have a section of what is an RPG, what is a TTRPG, because you never know if this is the first thing someone picks up.
Yeah.
Especially if you're making a game that is somewhat related to a different franchise, you have to have that in there.
Yeah.
Every game system that somehow could be used as a first time thing, and that's basically all of them, should have a section, this is an RPG, this is a TTRPG, this is what you do. And then you should also have to state that if something that the rules say makes you as your table uncomfortable or makes your play experience sad or unwanted, you are allowed to change it. But I would love for designers or at least for writers to append that, to append there, this is not supposed to be used all the time. Use it if you have to, but please try to play my game the way it is written.
Yeah, exactly. Bending the rules is fine. Breaking them might be fine in certain circumstances, but maybe not all the time.
It's a case by case basis, which is why I don't want to say you shouldn't write this into your book, or why I'm not saying the rule of cool shouldn't be used at all. But damn, sitting at a table where, especially, I think the rule of cool has a problem. It can be abused so quickly.
Yep. Exactly.
Especially when, just because we're humans, your GM, for example, has a bias to a certain player or a certain player's character. That's my favorite character right now, which as a GM, right, I understand. That's not so bad to have a preference under the characters. It's bad if you make it shown and clear. Because, right, you're a player at the table and you want to do something and the GM says that's not by the rules. And then another player goes and wants to do something and what they do goes. Because the GM says, yeah, rule of cool, that's cool. And then you say, why wasn't my thing cool? And the GM says, I just didn't like it. That is the worst thing that can happen to you at a table, in my opinion.
Yep.
Next to being literally harassed by the other players at the table. But it clearly invalidates you at the table. It sucks. And no, that is never good. And that is why I think the rule of cool needs to be adjusted in the space. It is supposed to be there. TTRPGs are supposed to be bendable enough for a table to use them to what they want to do.
But that comes naturally through the way how TTRPGs work.
Exactly.
If you have that basically tutorial on how to TTRPG in front of a system, that's where the rule of cool / rule 0, whatever you want to call it, should be stated as, hey, if something doesn't work, change it. But it's just basically in one sentence or one paragraph, but not an official rule of the system itself, but rather a way how TTRPGs themselves function. And I think that this is the important distinction between writing a rule of cool, rule 0, whatever, in your system or in how TTRPGs are played.
Yes.
And I think there's a distinction that you should make between, hey, TTRPGs are a completely free medium, whatever you want goes, this is how you play them, blah, 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 blah. But this is how my system works, not TTRPGs in general. This system works like that, and that. If this for one instance doesn't work, change it. Sure, that's how TTRPGs work, but not my system. Nice one.
Yeah. I have another one that I want to put out there right now.
All right.
Niels, have you ever been at a table where a GM said, I'm not allowing that player option to happen?
Yeah.
Like, you're not allowed to play this certain race or class in a D&D game or something. That GM is a fucking coward. I firmly believe that if you delete player options from the game, for the reason of balance, for the reason of this is OP and shit like that, you are a fucking coward. Obviously, you're not a real fucking coward. Trust me, everyone.
I was about to disagree as hell.
Wait. The thing is, if you delete something or veto something because it feels too strong, because it destroys your game, no. That is just... It's not bad GMing, but it clearly isn't good GMing, in my opinion. When you say, for example, right, we're playing a certain type of campaign, right? Before players come with options to you, if you give your players a sheet of this is all the options available to you, that's okay. But not going when your player has an idea, okay, I have this cool idea of for example, an Aarakocra, right? I want to fly.
Yeah.
You say no, flying isn't allowed in my games. That's bad.
Yeah.
But if you say this is a certain campaign, for example, an underwater campaign, and you can only play lineages that are able to somewhat breathe underwater, or at least
don't have to breathe at all, or
don't have to breathe at all. I get it, but that's because that isn't a decision the table has made beforehand together, right?
Yeah.
In my world, when you invite someone to an underwater campaign, you have already managed the expectations enough that for them to not go, yeah, obviously I want to play a lineage that doesn't breathe underwater.
Okay.
That is something completely different.
I was just, once you started that hot take, I was just about to disagree as hell, because I don't think I'm a cowardly GM, but I have forbid one lineage at my D&D table, which were Dragonborns. Not because they're OP or broken or whatever, but because the complete all dragon things are sealed because of the world history that I created. So there aren't any draconic thingamajigs, no kobolds, no dragons, nothing.
Actually,
so because I created the world for one campaign at first, and I created the storyline about releasing the dragon essence back into the thing so it will be available in future campaigns.
I think on a case-by-case basis, as once again everything is, that's why these hot takes are all satirical and fun and comedic and not to be taken too seriously. On the case-by-case basis, I would have to say that's you're a borderline for me. Because you created that world without your players, right? That storyline without your players. Or did they know beforehand? Did they say they want to do that storyline?
No.
I get what you mean. I totally support you in doing it. However, I firmly believe that only if your players are part of the creation process of when then common sense sets in, okay, yeah, obviously, because we agreed to this, that is off the table as a lineage and as a class, for example. I think the Drake Warden Ranger is also not part of the roster of classes or subclasses you allow then.
With a bit of reflavoring, it might. Depends.
I'm not talking about reflavoring, because I can also reflavor fucking Dragonborn to something else.
Yeah.
But generally,
rather not, no.
You're borderline because the players weren't part of the decision process. I understand, and I assume you did the work in giving your players this information beforehand soon enough.
Yeah. Once we...
you didn't just set them down and say Dragonborns are forbidden, I don't tell you why.
No. It was... Once we decided we wanted to play a D&D or a TTRPG campaign, we sat down and discussed what the world would look like, because I had this world in mind for a long time, blah, 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 blah. Then I said how the world looks, a bit of the world history.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, it's fine. You don't have to explain further for me.
No.
It's all fine.
No.
Yes.
No.
Okay.
But yeah, then session 0 stuff decided what works, what doesn't work, explained the world, explained the history and all of that and that and that. And then everybody agreed. If one person didn't agree, I would have changed everything. That's not the point. But yeah, the thing is, I can't disagree with you. I hate it. You're fucking right. Fuck you, man. Okay. Yeah. Hot takes, everyone. Hot takes.
Yeah, I mean, right. This is the thing. You can disagree with me. We can have the discussion, and that's okay for sure. I'm happy to have that discussion with you as long as we are doing it in good faith. As long as we're discussing in good faith, and that we do that by establishing a base together. We do that by establishing a friendship together, right?
Yeah.
I can say, no, you're a fucking idiot for your hot take, because you know I don't mean it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, I just told you to fuck yourself.
Yeah. But I
really mean that?
No, Niels obviously doesn't. But I know that we can have that discussion. And at the end of the day, I can still play at Niels' tables, because there's nothing that I would consider a big hard no for me. I can live with Niels saying you're not allowed to play this race or this class or this stuff. I get why, as long as it's explained beforehand. When I come with an idea of I have this Dragonborn already set out and I want to play it, and you say, no, I don't want you to. No, I don't want you to. I'm going, oh, that's shit. But if beforehand you say, okay, but in this world, draconic stuff isn't there anymore. It needs to be reopened to the world first. And I go, okay, cool. So I want to play a human whose biggest wish it was to be a Dragonborn.
There we go.
And Niels says, sure, let's go. And then Niels can give me, through the campaign, for example, little bits on bobs of the draconic Dragonborn race.
Hell yeah.
At some point, I might get a breath weapon, because why the fuck not?
And now, through that, I have another hot take for players this time.
Okay, this time. Okay, let's go.
Don't make a fucking character if you don't know the fucking world. If you just hear, let's start a campaign, and you are just out there creating PC after PC after PC, but you don't know how the world works, what type of setting you're playing in, shut the fuck up.
But what should I do with my 60 unused PCs on D&D Beyond?
Yeah, you can create them however you like, but then don't be a dick because your idea doesn't work in this world that you didn't even know of. Wait for session 0 to hear something about the world, or ask your GM about the world, about the setting, what works, what doesn't. Talk to them. Don't just go, yeah, okay, let's start a campaign. You don't know anything else other than we want to do it at some point. Okay, so I just created this character. How the fuck? How did you do? It doesn't work. You don't know shit. You know we want to play a D&D campaign. Okay, you created a D&D character. Cool. It doesn't work with the world we are playing in.
Yeah. One thing one big thing for me is I hate when my players create characters without the other players at the table. You don't have to tell each other what you're doing. And I have a little bit of fun with everyone not knowing what the others are doing, really, right? If you have a rogue and you don't want to say that outright, that's okay. However, I do not want you to come to my session 0 with a character ready. You can have an idea. You can have certain things that you already want to do. You could have also just said, okay, I already want to play a rogue. I know that. That's okay as well. However, I do not want you to create a character before we actually sit down to create together. And every time I'm asked to create a character before I sat down with all the other players, I am feeling like, personally, this could have been handled better. I would have loved a session where we all just sit together, even in silence together, creating our characters at the same time. So I have the option to ask, is anyone doing this? Is anyone doing that? Does anyone have a cool idea for this that I could do? Or does anyone want to do something together? Do we want to play twins? Do we want to play lovers? Do we want to play whatever the fuck? If I don't get that option to do that, my character is always going to feel a little bit void from the other characters at first. Mm-hmm. And don't you fucking say that I'm not good engaging in roleplay for the first few sessions if I do not know fuck shit about your characters yet. Yeah. Because I as a person very heavily rely on knowing your character to roleplay my character well in regards to yours. Mm. And I will observe for the first few sessions only if we have created these characters alone. Yeah. I would rather sit at a table for an hour longer than I would have to when I create alone, just so I know your character and can roleplay better together.
Hell yeah.
And I'm very happy that for our extra plays, we have said characters get created together in a session 0 that we theoretically record but never upload, because never upload your session 0s. Yeah. Hot take for actual plays: part of your session 0s are supposed to remain hidden forever. Do that courtesy to your players and you as a GM and everyone at the table and everyone doing the stuff. Session 0s are meant just for the group to decide on certain factors. Some of those do not need to be broadcast to the wider world. Character creation can be broadcast to the wider world, in my opinion. Even world introductions, but for example, safety tools, never. I would never feel comfortable with a safety tool discussion being broadcasted to the world.
Yeah, agree. 100% agree.
So, that hot take out of the way. Do you have another one for me?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, hit me.
XP, yeah. As a system in level-based games, bullshit.
Really?
In level-based games, where it's just not a one type of thing gets a bit better, but your character as a whole. For example, D&D.
Yeah.
XP is complete and utter bullshit.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I do understand what you mean.
In more non-linear experience gain games, like, for example, Cyberpunk, that's totally valid and fine.
I mean, you don't gain experience points, you gain improvement points, right? You gain the points used to buy certain stuff.
Exactly. The thing with that is, it's not a bump to one character at once with a complete twist or a complete overall of your character. Or for example, in D&D, when everyone is at level 2, but one person has enough XP to reach level 3, the insane power difference between those two isn't justified for using XP.
Understandable. There's easy fixes to that. You can still track experience points, for example, for that matter, if you want to. I really only use milestone in D&D, for example, because I don't want to track XP. That's literally the only reason. And also, one of the things is I want a TTRPG with an actual incredible skill tree.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone starts at the same stage, same character, basically.
That would be cool.
Maybe a few adjustments, like, for example, only the 6 ability scores, or 8 or 5 or 4 or 3. I don't care how many. Just a few little adjustments to make your character yours. But then you basically have a skill tree of like 100 different branches and skill sets that you can then choose. And you build your own character from that for the exact experience you want to have. That this is a challenge designers have probably been taking on already, and that there are games that already do that, I know. I at least assume. And also I know that it's probably fucking hard to do that, so I'm not faulting any designers here for not doing so,
but it would still be amazing.
Holy fucking shit, I can imagine that being fucking worst.
The nightmares.
But I also just want to play one. I really like that. I really like the idea. At least as a hypothetical in my head, I do. I don't know if it would be at the table, it would be very fun, but I kind of want to try. But I get what you mean. It's
but even with the skill tree, that wouldn't be like in, for example, D&D, everything gets better with a new level, basically. With a skill tree, you get one new skill or improve one aspect of your character, not everything. And that's the important part. That's why I hate level discrepancies in D&D, because it just feels shit.
Yeah, I definitely get what you mean. Okay, next hot take.
Hit me.
It's also kind of along the lines of what you said. It's also about characters. It's about developing those characters, and it's about optimization.
Oh boy.
And especially people saying that optimization, or that optimized min-maxed characters are not well designed for storytelling.
That's bullshit.
We had an episode on that, on optimizing and how it, or min-maxing and how it isn't bad. But I really, really want to say this again. Just because you think that character flaws are the end-all, be-all of good narrative doesn't mean that you're right.
Yeah, and the thing is, I totally agree to an extent. As long as everyone is fine with everyone or one person having a more damage output build in a damage-focused campaign or in a story or in a combat-focused campaign, that's totally fine. If this comes out of the blue, it's a bit cheapish because then you can do everything the others can, but better. And that's I don't like that. But once everyone agrees to even if that's the case, but everyone agrees to it, go ahead. Love it. Sure thing. I agree.
The important part really is that I do not believe that if you really need characters to have flaws to tell a great story, maybe do a better job of telling a story. Like, I know character flaws are important to create a diverse and complex story. Yes. Why are the player characters of your players at the table the end-all, be-all of how good your story is? Sure, they're the main characters. Sure, they're the focus. Sure, they should have a very big impact on the story. But just because they aren't as flawed as you want them to be doesn't mean that your story can't be good.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
stop relying on those characters to be fucking flawed and good for you, and make a good story around the characters you have.
Yeah, I mean, having an amazing and flawed and cool set of side characters is nearly just as important as amazing characters, because in TTRPGs at least, players and characters interact with your NPCs, with the side characters of the story, with the antagonists of the story, with just the normal people that get mentioned. And if these are flawed individuals, but the party isn't, that discrepancy between those two sides, in quotation marks, is amazing storytelling material. Just to put that out there.
Okay.
Yeah, agree.
So, what's your next one?
Party composition, bullshit. No one needs it.
Oh, an old episode of DoubleDM as well, where we say your party composition doesn't matter at all.
Doesn't fucking matter. You can do all fighters, all netrunners, all whatever the fuck. It doesn't matter. You just have to find a different approach to the same problem.
I think it actually aligns.
A lot of fun.
It aligns very well with with the other hot take I just did, right? You as the GM should focus on the player characters you have instead of complaining about the player characters you have. You should create a story around those characters you have, not say that they are unfit for your story. And the same thing goes for you as a player, not saying the story isn't fit for your character. You somehow also need to make your character fit into what the GM has told you and given you. And your character then needs to find a way around in that world. It's a back and forth between the two. And it only works if you work together. As characters, as players, and as player and GM. It only works if you do it together. And it doesn't fucking matter what party composition you have. It doesn't fucking matter what size of party you have. If you're playing good faith, your GM is going to give you a challenge that your characters can beat, even though it might be harder because you're not well balanced as a party.
Yeah. A TTRPG campaign isn't Baldur's Gate 3 honor mode.
Yes.
You don't have to have the optimized party to get through that in terms of class or ability distribution. It doesn't fucking matter. You're there to have a great time and not to be the best, strongest, and whatever in the current world just for the sake of being that, or for the sake of, I just want to complete that. If your characters die in a TPK, the campaign is done as well. The campaign is completed in a different sense, but it is completed. No matter what you do, complete a campaign.
Yeah.
So fuck composition. If you play whatever the fuck you want and fits.
I have another hot take regarding that exactly.
All right.
Every GM, your obsession with death, how many player characters you've killed, or anything along those lines, just fucking stop. Death is the least fun consequence in a game. I'm not saying that you shouldn't kill your player characters, because you should challenge them with combats and with damage and whatever else, and if they die, they die. Whoop-de-fucking-do, it happens. It is part of the story and the danger of play. However, it is not your objective to kill them. It is not a trophy that you've killed so many player characters or how many TPKs you've had. And let's be fucking real, death is not really a fun consequence for the characters. And if we're in it to play these characters in a story, death is the end of that story. And I'm sorry, it's just unfun if that is what we're in for.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be not happening, but it is not fun if it is the consequence you always go to.
Yeah. Exactly.
Especially if you always go to death as a consequence to something. It is just not fun as the only consequence at the table. Should it happen when players mess up, especially in dangerous situations? Yes, definitely.
It shouldn't be off the table, but it shouldn't be your go-to consequence for every situation.
It also shouldn't be your fucking goal of the game.
Exactly. All right. Okay. Kind of aligns with that, but kind of doesn't.
Okay.
It's about the rest mechanic in D&D.
Oh, it's fucking shit.
I hate it. It's so fucking terrible. You can lose basically in terms of game rules as written. You can lose everything except one. You can be on 1 HP. You can have been burnt to a crisp because you swam in lava. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna take a nap. 8 hours. I'm fine. I'm back to fucking normal. No, you are not. Excuse me? What the fuck? And just the amount of resources that you have in D&D doesn't work with a long rest replenishes all at 8 hours of sleep. In earlier levels, on level 1, sure. Okay, that works with the amount of things in a day that can happen. But at later levels, it's just shit.
Do you know why I firmly believe that D&D is an epic fantasy game? Because of the rest mechanic. Because it is supposed to... Your characters are, from level 1, somehow gods. They aren't godly mighty strong yet, which they will be at level 20, by the way. However, the rest mechanic shows me that these characters can go through hell, even at level 1, and withstand the greatest injuries and still come out on top because they can take a fucking nap and everything is okay for them quickly. They have so crazy healing capabilities. D&D is an epic fantasy game that basically conveys the story of gods all the time, and that's what I use D&D for. D&D isn't my game when it comes to running low fantasy or running even normal fantasy. D&D is always gonna be, for me, a journey from level 1 to 20, because that journey then also shows that in that best that your characters are just fucking gods that needed to unlock their potential. They are chosen by fate. They are somehow chosen of the gods. They are whatever the fuck, but they are special. Very special. And the rest mechanic is a very great way to see that. Because
I still hate it.
Yeah, I still hate it for play sometimes. But
all the time. I just hate it.
I think leaning into it makes D&D more fun.
Yeah, okay.
Literally being, you don't fucking know how your severed leg came back onto your body after you rested for 8 hours, but it did. Leading into it could be a lot more fun than saying, or other way of leaning into it, the characters are literally unable to lose their limbs, for example. A villain tries to cut their arm off, his saw isn't strong enough.
Yeah.
Leaning into that, I think, creates a better experience. But that also means that a lot of people would have to change their D&D experience, and I know that a lot of people will be hating that. I'm just saying. I use D&D.
I have to agree. Fuck you. Fuck. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Gritty realism rest rules. But let me tell you, the gritty realism rest rules in D&D, I think they're in the DMG somewhere. We use that for one of our campaigns, and that works pretty well. You sleep a night, you regain some hit points. You have a good night's sleep. Everyone knows if you're feeling shit, have a good night's sleep, and it could be way better. But a long rest is really just having a vacation, sitting around at a campfire, drinking hot cocoa, and having spa days more and more. That works in a narrative sense, I think. At least for our table it does. But yeah, otherwise I fucking hate that I have to agree. But yeah, I agree. Cool,
that is also one of the hot takes I have. My last one for today. Lean into the system more. That's why system matters and rule of rulers shit. You should lean into your system more. Read the system, understand what it means and what some of its rules imply for the system to work. And then work with that. And one thing, for example, D&D doesn't fucking know what its rules mean itself, which is why looking at official D&D material, official D&D art, official D&D stuff isn't a good way to understand how D&D works as a table game. But if you read the rules and understand them, not just as this is how this works, but more as hey, this is what this would imply for the play experience, and lean into that, it's going to give you a greater experience. Understand the games you play, and then play them to how the rules want you to play the game. Not how the designer wants you to play the game. The designer wrote the rules. And if they did a good job, their vision aligns with what the rules convey. However, sometimes it doesn't. As with D&D 5e, in my opinion. They wanted to create a normal fantasy game, and I think they created an epic fantasy game. That is something different. And if you lean into that the rules actually convey, you're going to have a way better time. But for that, you need to read the rules and play by the rules.
All right. I also have one last hot take.
Then hit me with it.
Sandbox games. Or sandbox campaigns aren't that good. Open world with narrative is amazing. Sandbox is shit. And I think there is a huge distinction to make between open world with narrative and a sandbox game.
I agree. I have nothing to dispute or even discuss here, really, at all.
All right.
I have nothing to say to that because I've never played a sandbox game. I never have the intention of because I just do not like how it has been conveyed to me so far.
I tried it once. It's shit. After 3 sessions.
I trust you.
After 3 sessions, everyone was just like, and now what? Yeah, you can do whatever you like. Okay, cool. I open a vineyard. Done. Okay, cool. Nice adventure, folks. Nice adventure. Cool. Yeah, but having an open world, but with a narrative behind it, this is the stuff. But yeah, now I don't have any hot takes left.
No, and I think with that, we can actually start into the new year with a few new episode topics as well.
Hell yeah.
With these. And again, if you disagreed on this and you know us personally, for example, on Discord or we are Twitter mutuals, or we've had discussions before together, we featured on your episodes, you featured on ours, whatever the fuck. If we know each other and you disagree, you have a hot take as well, message us. Please, we would love to talk to you in the new year about any of these topics, about any other topic that you want to talk about. Just message us. And that even goes for people that we might not know that well as so far. If you have an amazing topic idea for us and we see nothing wrong with talking to you, which for most people we don't, let's fucking go. Let's take the new year. Let's take 2024 and make it the best TTRPG year we can, as every fucking year. And with that, I have nothing else today. I wish you a happy Christmas, everyone. Happy New Year. And we will hear you all. I don't know if next week is going to be an episode. I think we're probably going to take at least 1 week of a break, maybe longer even. But we will see each other the next time on DoubleDM. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of DoubleDM. It appears you liked this one. What we had to say and our advice helped you. Why not show us how we helped you in a rating, or even write a review detailing us how we helped? You can do this on the platform that you are listening on right now. It's just a few clicks, doesn't take long, and helps us out. It gets us out there and our advice into more ears of more people. Thanks again for listening and joining us on this amazing journey. Have a great day, and hear you on the next one. Bye-bye.
The incomprehensible terrors of this world. You feel the rumbling of the ground in unusual pattern, as if something is stomping towards you. You hear outside the temple screaming civilians fleeing. You see a dark shadow from the east side loom over the stained glass windows of the temple. You hear the crumbling of the roof above you, caving in, and big chunks of debris falling left and right to you. Another low, gurgling roar or scream. I wonder if those that herald the demise of this world are my doing.
Are you responsible for this? And draw my sword.
Oh, we got a live one, boys. Are we responsible for this, you asked? Well, yes, of course we are.
Well, then you will answer for this.
Is there any way this world can still be saved? Or will it crumble again?
But I can help.
No.
You don't have to.
No, kid, you can't. Go run.
You
Trust
told me
me.
I was ready.
I will. You aren't ready to fight that thing. And he points directly at this titan that just rips a freaking building out of the ground and crushes it with his hands.
I'm not
Or his
looking at him,
claws.
just looking at my feet because I know he's right.
I said you were ready to find out more about this world, but not ready to fight that thing. So now, go with these people. Trust me on this. I will come back. Nothing escapes this eternal cataclysm.
There was just this huge energetic buildup around the walls, and runes were flaring up with light, and a huge blue barrier appeared. I've never seen, like, it was so powerful, and I cannot properly describe it. It was just too much, you know? And then there was this energy and thunder and this fear and lightings, and then it was gone.
I created the keys that will open the gates to the depths. I am the reason. The pages are dusty and kinda wrinkly. There are different sections to the manuscript. Some look like citations. Others look like notes to those citations. The manuscript isn't titled, but it focuses on one thing alone. The Diary of Jack O'Haran.
There's no way back to how things once were. Your past has been erased. And if you are not keen enough, fast enough, strong enough, you will meet the same end as those you left behind.